Hello everyone, my name is David Haynes, and today I will be presenting you with a presentation on video games and how they affect our social interaction. Let's get started. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what video games are, but for those who don't, let's start with the definition. Video games are electronic games that are played by manipulating images produced by computer programs on television screens or other display screens. As a society, we are constantly improving in the mechanics of technology. From our televisions to our computers to our cell phones, our improvement shows. However, our improvement in games shows as well. From year to year, video games have become heightened to a whole new level, with becoming more complex, website interactive, and realistic. Video games can introduce a game novice into a whole new world. However, in that world, does it hinder the person you are and the world that you actually live in? That's what brought me to my knowledge question. To what extent does video games affect the way we communicate? Now, the question always comes up, are video games a problem? For some to many, video games are more than just games. For many, it can develop into an addiction, causing them to invest vast amounts of hours into the gaming program. Signs of this addiction may start off as small, while gradually increasing into a negative impact on the addict's life. Signs may include the loss of time, negligence with friends and family, unfinished schoolwork, lack of control over emotions, and even personal hygiene. Now, as I said before, there are quite a few symptoms to someone being addicted to video games. However, the top indications are preoccupation, being preoccupied with the game. This may also entail the user being distracted, irritable, and being totally disinterested, downplaying computer use, the lack of control, the loss of time, defensiveness, misuse of money, often using financial resources for games, of course, and mixed feelings, which may include instances of guilt. With all of this taking place, it can be a heavy weight on how the user of the game interacts with others. Given that most to all video game addicts play in seclusion, it often deters their need for social interaction as well as their need to communicating with others and learning how to communicate, rather than communicating through a gaming program or system. This stems from the ways of knowing with sense perception, downplaying the use of computer use, emotion with being irritable and defensive about the issue, and reason, which concerns the addiction and how it jeopardizes the level of interaction and communication. Many know that too much of anything can lead to detriment. Being too consumed with video games that can also be violent can have one geared into a catastrophic event. Outside of the normal and socially acceptable symptoms of video game addiction, there are some additional factors to it that has had a major contribution to crime rates. By using the area of knowledge of human science, CBS News says scientists have investigated the use of violent video games for more than 2 decades, but to date, there is very limited research addressing whether violent video games cause people to commit acts of criminal violence, said Mark Applebaum, the task force chair. However, the link between violence in video games and increased aggression in players is one of the most studied and best established in the field. In reviewing more than 150 research papers, the task force found a consistent relationship between the games and an increase in aggressive behavior, as well as a decrease in prosocial behavior, empathy, and sensitivity to aggression, and that this behavior continued for some time. Though it cannot be thoroughly tested given that violence is a crime, Brad Bushman, who is from Ohio State University and who is also doing extensive research on violent media and aggression, says that there is certainly a link between playing violent video games and violent criminal behavior, which is said to be the case with Noah Crooks. Mother of 13-year-old Noah Crooks was caught off guard after she had confiscated his Xbox system due to mediocre school grades. Gretchen Crooks was killed by her son. After killing her with a rifle that was given to him as a birthday present and attempting to rape her, Noah Crooks was convicted as a minor for second-degree murder and attempted rape. Further decisions for his incarceration will not be made until he is 18 years of age. Now, many say this event was due to an excessive use and infatuation with video games. Depending upon what games were played, it is safe to say that his gaming system was a major inspiration to his reasoning, sense perception, current emotions, and for his actions that transpired during his mother's death. In addition to Noah, there is also the deathly incident that happened with an unnamed 8-year-old shooting his 90-year-old grandmother. Given to his access to the weapon and the so-called entertainment of the video game Grand Theft Auto, the event led into the unimaginable. Given that the boy was a minor, his custody was placed with his parents as a result of the incident. Take a look at the video.
Investigators say that an 8-year-old intentionally shot his 90-year-old grandmother in the head last night in East Feliciana Parish. They're trying to figure out the motive, but deputies point out the boy was playing a violent video game minutes before the shooting. Lee Isaacson has that.
The community of Slaughter is in shock after a boy was able to access a gun and shoot his grandmother in the head while she was watching television.
Where did he see the gun? Like, where did she have the gun? Where was it placed? Like, was it in his eyesight? Or this was kind of the thoughts that goes through my head.
The boy's access to the gun is what concerns child psychologist Christopher Kalibi the most, but he says an 8-year-old's access to a violent video game like Grand Theft Auto may encourage aggressive behavior.
From a, behavior therapy perspective, I would say that's practicing, right? So if you have a video game where someone shoots at a target, that's sort of practicing shooting at a target. When you have a video game that is shooting at a human being, that is practicing shooting at a human being.
The game is rated M for mature audiences and recommended for ages 17 and older, but Dr. Kalibi says it's rarely enforced by caretakers.
In some ways, it's an perverse incentive because a lot of the kids would like the video games that are sort of not for them.
The games have been tied to violence before. Daniel Petrick is in prison for shooting his parents, killing his mother when he was a teenager.
I'm used to playing these games, and at the end of every round, everything just resets. At the end of every level, everybody's still there.
Petrick says he used to play video games like Halo 18 hours a day. His father recently appeared on Katie to address the issue of violent video games.
What role do you think, Mark, violent video games played in Danny's actions?
A huge role.
Dr. Kalibi says the games may have influenced individual violent crimes, but overall, while video game use is on the rise, certain crime statistics have been dropping. So what's most important is making sure guns are locked away, no matter how kids are spending their free time. This case is being called a homicide. Because of his age, deputies say the 8-year-old is exempt from criminal responsibility. He is now with his parents.
Now, this is a picture of children playing Angry Birds on a laptop in an Indonesian shopping center. With the use of human science, the paper Independent says, young children who play a lot of games may be more likely to have better intellectual and social skills than their non-gaming peers, a new specific scientific study has suggested. The study was conducted by an international team of researchers at Columbia University's Mailman School of Public Health in New York. The analysis was of mental health data relating to thousands of children between the ages of 6 and 11 from across Europe. The data also collected through questionnaires filled out by parents and teachers, and the children responded to the questions through an interactive tool. Accounting for variations in development explained by the children's ages and genders, the team found that high video game usage was associated with 1.75 times increase in the odds of high intellectual functioning. Children who played a lot of video games were also found to be 1.88 times more likely to have high overall school competence. This shows how human science proves that video games can have positive impacts on the game user, making positive contributions that can be conducive to the enhancement of their intellects. However, for many, video games are said to be an extension of entertainment and/or art. However, some vary depending upon what the game program consists of, but primarily, the game programs are meant to entertain the users, to give them an entertaining experience as a movie or book would. The only difference with the movies and books is that the video game is somewhat interactive, depending upon what game and system is being played. This shows how some feel as if video games are just another form of art, not having any major impacts beyond the limits of entertainment. In summation, one's addiction to video games is very real, as you can see. Depending upon the investment in the game, one's interactions can increase from small to large amounts of time quickly. Overall, your purpose and the content of the video game determines your affiliation with the game itself, whether it be for learning, entertainment, or something more. Regulating for other areas of life is healthy for the game user to communicate. Thank you. This is the conclusion of my presentation. I hope you liked it.